Hi, welcome back to Memory Protection. It's an Apple News podcast set 20 years ago. Today, we're looking back to February 2001. I'm Josh McGrath, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Smith.
Hey, Josh. I think it's going to be a short episode today.
Short month, short episode, short intro. Yes, we're looking back to February of the year 2001. And this week and this month, we do have some follow-up with the Dash.
Zev Eisenberg, friend of the show, tweeted at us about the OS X Apple menu and its placement in the public beta. He says, a nitpick/detail that I'm sure you'll enjoy. The OS X public beta didn't just have the Apple menu in the middle. It didn't have an Apple menu at all. The Apple logo in the middle of the menu bar was decorative. Per what Steve was saying about everything being in the Finder, in classic macOS, things like sleep and shutdown were in the Finder's special menu. The Apple menu was more about launching apps and whatever else you put in your Apple menu items folder, if I recall correctly. So they weren't just moving the Apple menu in OS 10.0, they were resurrecting it after the original betas killed it.
Right. And it has been a month since we talked about that, so I don't remember exactly what we said.
I think maybe he understands the original functionality better than we did when we were describing it. So thank you for your clarification, Zev.
Well, I mean, he did send me the book Macworld Mac Secrets.
And he is in possession of a beautiful copy of Pirates of Silicon Valley on VHS.
So, of course, but he sent me this book with the context that he used to leaf through it voraciously as a kid in the Barnes and Nobles or whatever bookstore he said. So he's the person who's hungry for the details. Hungry for the secrets. He's hungry for those Macworld secrets.
Let's move on to Hot Cocoa. What do we got?
First, NVIDIA has a chat with the Mac Observer.
Yeah, as we recall, they launched the GeForce 2 MX on the Mac last month, right?
Correct. And soon they'll be announcing the release of the GeForce 3. GeForce. First for the Mac only. Although they don't say that in this interview because technically it hasn't happened yet.
Right. There's an interesting passage, interesting for fans of Chip History 3. The Mac Observer asks NVIDIA, how are drivers coming for Mac OS X? And NVIDIA responds, we plan to fully support OS X and the drivers are coming.
Coming along thanks to their world-class driver team who, must just be like really sad these days. Just it's really getting underused.
I mean, I think that answer is still applicable today.
Oh, sure. This is the crack team that makes the NVIDIA driver installer for Windows that always tries to trick you into installing NVIDIA Experience.
No, I mean the Mac drivers. They're still coming.
Oh, I mean they're in the vault. They're in that the
Disney vault.
They're in that Indiana Jones vault with all the boxes. Next to the Ark of the Covenant. There's all those NVIDIA web drivers.
Yeah. That's right.
With CUDA support. Next, Apple confirms a $30 discount for OS X beta buyers, but only for those who actually pulled their weight.
Yeah, so if you participated in the beta, Apple will give you $30 off, which means that a brand new copy of OS X will only cost you $100 instead of $130. Turns out that you didn't actually have to provide any feedback for some people to get this discount.
Wait, really? I thought there was... Now I'm confused because there seemed to be a confusion at the time about who was going to get it.
Yeah, I think I don't think it was across the board, but some people got a notice that they were thanked for participating in the beta program and they got a discount, even though they didn't actually purchase the public beta. They just, I think, expressed interest. So it's probably an email list mix up there.
They should have added that proviso to the Apple Silicon Mac Mini rebate.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get this rebate, but only if you actually built software for it.
Oh, what did they offer him? $200? after spending $5.
I think they offered them some lint from their pocket and a pat on the back.
Yeah.
And they said, you should be so lucky.
Right, exactly.
You should be so lucky to pay $500 for a thing we're going to make you give back.
We made $300 off of you, sucker.
$1 trillion company. We really need those Mac Minis back, though.
Apple, the Cube's not doing so well. Apple drops the price on the low-end Cube $300, and they add a new high-end configuration. So the low end of the Cube range, the Cube line, is now $1499, and the high end is a eye-blistering $2399. So
it's a quote from Mac Observer. For those of you into the rumor end of this business, these price cuts lend weight to the arguments that we are about to see an update to this product line. Think Tokyo. It will be interesting to see how Apple positions the Cube in the next iteration.
No, they didn't.
They didn't.
They didn't. And he doesn't.
Next, things are looking up for old Gil. Former Apple CEO Gil Amelia lands a sweet new CEO job.
Yeah, he gets a new job with a company called Advanced Communication Technologies Incorporated. I
spent a solid block of time today trying to figure out how long he was the CEO of this company, but it was not mentioned anywhere.
Well, in this article, it mentions that he's not actually the CEO yet. He is on the board, and they're expecting to make him CEO. He'll be the chairman of the board and CEO after negotiations are completed. So this article may be a little bit presumptuous of Gil's future.
I mean, he did and is still doing a lot of stuff. I think he just got on the board of some VR company or AR. He started a company with Woz at one point.
Really?
Yeah, and another ex-Apple employee. I'm blanking on the name right now, but yeah, he's been all over the place. He's still kicking. Yeah, old Gil.
Moving on to things that are not still kicking. Mac Observer reviews Bungie's Oni, and I think we need to find some new news sources for our podcast, Josh.
I think we need to stop talking about Oni. This is the news, people.
It keeps popping up, just like Star Wars Episode 1 Racer kept popping up.
You can't avoid full contact action, the likes of which you will experience, to full effect in Bungie's Oni.
Bungie makes great action games. Don't let anyone tell you differently. The play is fast and furious, full of bone-crunching throws and kicks packed with explosive weaponry. You command all of this with the mouse.
Through effective cutscenes and superb voiceovers, you begin to understand that all is not as it seems.
I don't think they played the same game we played, Josh.
This is some hot cocoa follow up? I don't know.
What is follow in?
It has a dash in it. That's all I know. They said in this Mac Observer article that the only thing they criticize the game for is some input funkiness. And they say OS X also does not support input sprockets, making the mouse behave a little oddly. And this calls us back to May 2000's Mac Observer article, Game Developers Not Thrilled with OS X Roadmap, in which, if you will recall, superfans, Apple has dropped their game sprockets technology.
Yeah, I do remember
That's in my brain,
now.
so now it's in yours too.
Wow. It's like we just traveled in time. Another criticism that the Mac Observer levied against Oni was that there was no multiplayer, despite, as far as I can tell, that never being a feature that Bungie advertised.
It's like it's like the famous Edge magazine review of Doom, where they gave it a 7 or something, and they're like, if only we could speak to these creatures. Like they wanted it to be like a romance sim or something.
Yeah,
which is a good idea for a game, but maybe not in 1990, whatever.
They also mentioned in their review that it has a great storyline and great level design. Two of the things that we expressly criticized it for. So maybe there were some patches.
We would have gotten the patch version, right?
Yeah, maybe they patched it and made it worse.
Maybe. I maintain my pet theory that because there were no games for the Mac,
any game was a good game.
Any game was a good game.
Bugged them. As good as Mario 64.
What are we doing with this segment?
I don't know. Let's move on. We're done bagging on Oni.
Once again, we talk for too long and say nothing about Oni.
This will be the last time.
It wasn't.
No. It has to come out on PS2 for it to be the last time.
They didn't, and he doesn't.
That was a nice frothy cup of hot cocoa. Let's move on to our primary topic. And it focuses around Macworld Tokyo and some announcements made there. You'll remember last month we were in San Francisco watching the Steve's keynote for Macworld.
This month we get the remix.
Steve's wearing a suit.
Fancy Steve.
Airport is called something different. And yeah, so there's not too much new here. We get some Japanese specific information. And then the actual announcement are a couple of iMacs. But I think one thing I should have picked up on when I was doing the research for January 2000, at last year's Macworld Tokyo keynote, when Apple announced Airport, they announced it in Japan, but they had to rename it. It's actually called AirMac in Japan because a company by the name of IO Data owns the trademark for Airport. And they actually have a wireless product, like a 802.11b product that did what Airport did. It was an external solution, but same idea.
Oh, it was the same thing?
Yeah.
And also called Airport. Interesting.
Yeah, if you look at that IO Data website, it links right to it. Actually, it looks like this might be a router, but either way, got a sweet logo.
Yes, and Steve reminds us that all the new Macs are going to be AirMac ready from the jump.
Did you notice that he says AirMac, but the slide says Airport?
I didn't. I was mostly just focusing on what he said, and I was like, good job.
I just thought it was funny that they didn't update the slide deck.
Because I was thinking how much, he drills these slides so much. One imagines he would get Airport stuck in his head, and that would be easy to flub.
Yeah. Yeah, but he gets it right verbally, but not right on the slide. Huh.
Okay, so I got a new Mac, and it's AirMac ready. But what do I actually do with it?
Well, I think you'd want to log into apple.com, www.apple.com, and click on the iTools tab, because now iTools is available in Japanese starting today.
That's right. It's time for a Macworld Mac Secret Glorious Return. You might have a new Mac and want to use iTools, but what if you have an old Mac?
How old, Josh?
Say a Mac using System 7, using iTools on older software.
Okay.
Apple says that its iTools are available only to Macs running macOS 9 and later. In fact, however, many of them are also available to Macs running, say, macOS 8.5 or even System 7.6.
I mean, it seems like you'd have to be trying real hard to keep using that 7.6 system.
Well, as Macworld Mac Secret says, if you're willing to take some sneaky extra steps.
What?
At this writing, instructions for running iTools on pre-macOS 9 machines are posted at www.acts.org/iTools trick. In essence, using iTools boils down to installing an extension called AppleShare 3.8.3 and then taking a number of tweaky steps. Even then, you won't have access to KidSafe or iCards. But you gain the Mac.com email address and get access to the iDisk.
All from the comfort of my Mac Color Classic.
All for the comfort of my Newton. Now, you might be wondering, can I find this website?
Can I?
And you can. Acts.org is a still existing website, and it appears to be the homepage, like a GeoCities ass homepage for like a church.
Huh.
And I thought, this surely isn't right. And I went to that address and it was down, but it still lives in the Wayback Machine. And yes, it is in fact a page of tweaks for how to get this to work. However,
I'm looking at it now. Did you notice that there's a Japanese translation?
No.
Yeah, so if you're using iTools in Japan as of the Tokyo keynote.
But you are going to want to get a jump on this, because I'll just read you the first few lines of the page. The title says, iTools on older systems? Is it possible? Winky face. First paragraph. Well, it was possible. It seems that Apple has closed the loophole. macOS 9 is now required to set up an iTools account. You can still access your @mac.com email accounts and iDisk from older systems, however.
Dang.
Or thereafter lies some pretty in-depth instructions on how to get this old patch working.
You know, I'm no technology expert, but this seems like a lot.
It does seem like although if you think this is too much, our friend, though what I'm assuming would refer to themselves as the webmaster, Roland, apparently is their name. Roland, the webmaster, provides a heading at the bottom of the page, miscellaneous links for iTool-like services available on the net.
Gratis.
Services like apparently like Xdrive, which was a iDisk-like thing for Windows.
And Yahoo.
It's so hot right now.
That was a good tip.
We don't need to put this in the show, but if you follow the links on this page, you kind of go down a rabbit hole. Like visit Roland's Thank You Ware, Shareware, and Freeware. Mm-hmm. And you realize that Roland was pretty prolific.
Did he make these things?
He had some sort of shareware website.
Journeyman Project, Legacy of Time.
It's some sort of adventure game made by Broderbund.
Really?
Yeah, look at that.
Was Roland involved in that? Oh, he was, yeah.
I worked on Journeyman Project 3, Legacy of Time. I'm the 47,964th visitor.
It's the 694th visitor, because I am also that visitor.
Wait a minute. If you refresh, does it change?
I don't think so. It's a static snapshot.
Oh, it would have been from back then. Okay.
Yeah. This is cool. This is the old internet shit that I love.
I'm sorry. I just found something amazing.
What do you got?
What is this? Okay. This is a link off of Roland's homepage.
Mountain Dew page. Oh, hell yeah.
Look at this. An essential ingredient for successful computer programming.
I love this. This Mountain Dew page has almost twice the amount of traffic as the
wow
iTools page.
This website has huge cable saucer energy.
That's true. Wow, man. We just went down a weird rabbit hole. I think
is this what web rings were? Okay, sorry. All right. We're just digging ourselves out of this web hole. We're going back to the Mac.
Pull ourselves out of this tailspin.
Okay, well, now that we've figured out how to use iTools in Japanese, what else has Steve got for us?
Well, it turns out he's got just one more thing. I guess two more things, because he's wearing an amazing white tie on top of a white shirt, and it's a powerful look.
A lot of people don't know this, Matt, but the tie is not a decal. It's actually machined into the shirt. They worked on the technology for 18 months.
I believe it. It is the only time he ever wore that shirt, never to be seen again.
Oh, yeah? You know that for a fact?
Well, I mean, just like...
Go add it to the Wikipedia right now before they listen.
Just like his shirt...
Wait, why does that never occur to us when we could just say stuff?
Yeah, we're verifiable, right?
And then we're bona fide. A lot of these Wikipedia pages, you can tell nobody's looking at them. So we should start making stuff up.
I think somebody should add memory protection to Wikipedia.
Gil Amelio was going to be the CEO of ADC, but then he murdered a guy. Just straight up killed someone. And he was never caught. He started many other companies afterwards.
Let's not do that one.
All right. Well, we'll workshop it. So I'm going to keep it on the list. But yeah, anyway, go on.
So Apple is revising the iMac line today. They've got some new colors for us. They got your favorite color, indigo. They got your other favorite color, graphite.
And I'm assuming they have all the other colors too, right?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Just indigo and graphite. But then there's two new really special things.
New colors?
Two new special colors?
Colors?
So Steve says, as Josh alluded to earlier, that they've been working on this technology for 18 months. And apparently what this technology is printing on the inside of an iMac shell, a pattern or a graphic. So what they have to show off today is a couple of weird little iMacs.
Yes, these are commonly referred to as the trypophobia iMacs.
Trypophobia?
You know about trypophobia?
No.
And I also just made up that fact, but this is just what I think about it. Trypophobia is that thing where, like, if you see a bunch of holes in something, you get freaked out.
Oh, dude, don't. Oh.
By the way, don't look that up if you don't know what it is.
Damn it.
It's gross.
Now I got the images of my...
Do you see what I mean, though?
I know what you mean now. Blue Dalmatian is ruined for life.
So, okay, so we got the Flower Power iMac and the Blue Dalmatian. Flower Power is a sort of like nod to 60s counterculture, you know, Steve Jobs, like he's such a rebel, counterculture, wink, wink. And then Blue Dalmatian is just sort of a polka dots.
Yeah, it's just sort of like oblong, rectangular polka dots, white polka dots on a blue background.
People apparently were pretty mixed on these designs. I would like to come down hard and say that I hate them.
Josh, I might have an opinion, but I can't stop thinking about the trypophobia images just cycling through my head.
I'm sorry. I should have.
And it's
content
not
warning for trypophobia.
It's not the sunflower seeds. It's the weird skin stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
I get this from both of them. Like something about the video we most of the videos we use for the show are very low bitrate old rips of keynotes, and the Flower Power iMac looks haunting. I think in this video, yeah, it reminds me of meat. It's like a Giger painting.
Wait, what? Me. Again, what?
I don't. This is just
what video did you watch?
No, I watched the same video as you. I just
right.
This just how they hit me.
I'm getting there. New colors. Oh, damn it! Now I see it. Shit.
Right.
Did you look at any of the marketing materials? Because it doesn't look quite like that in real life.
Yes, I saw somewhere. Maybe it was the Mac Observer saying that they look a little more like shiny and maybe like iridescent in real life.
Yeah, no, I mean, also like the flowers are a little bit more defined. Like they're not.
They don't look like rot.
Oh. No.
I had a visceral reaction to these iMacs. I think that's why. I think probably some other people did too, although they might not have put it how I put it. But that's why these iMacs were discontinued in July of 2001.
Yeah, so here I'm going to send you a picture of what they were supposed to look like.
I'm really enjoying that. I have people have been hating on these iMacs for literally 20 years.
Now it's your turn,
and I've brought a new spin to it, a new angle.
Yeah, but if you look at
what if these iMac designs weren't just bad, but were creepy?
I mean, they're in real life they're not at all representational of trypophobia. So yeah, I mean, I think like we'll post the image in the show notes, but I'm not going to link a search to trypophobia at all.
No, you shouldn't. And people should not look it up unless it gets weird. It's a medical term, but it gets weird. It can gross you out.
I mean, it's still grossing me out, Josh. I might be stuck.
I've really derailed this episode in so many ways. Batting 1,000. Let's. I'm gonna save us. We're gonna move on.
No, I think what you were saying is I think like Steve doesn't have a lot to say about these iMacs.
He really doesn't. It's weird.
Like this feels like sort of like
I will put in the clip of him introducing them here.
So this is Flower Power. Pretty cool, huh?
And you'll see how he just he's like, well, here they are.
Yeah. And he doesn't
cool.
He's not effusive about them. Like, wow, look at it. Isn't it great? Isn't it so beautiful? You're just going to love it. Like he seems like a little bit more like his description is a little bit more tempered, I think, than what we've seen from him in the past. So I don't know if it was that he was not a fan of these iMacs or if he just didn't want to hype something up that would be so received so subjectively by any individual as opposed to like this cool futuristic gray computer. It looks cool, right?
Or in classic Steve Jobs fashion, did he already know what was coming down the pike and was kind of bored with the G3?
I mean, that could be, even though they revved the G3 again in July.
They revved the G3, but as you pointed out in the show notes, like this is the last design revision of the G3 iMac.
Yeah, right. So this Flower Power and Blue Dalmatian iMacs are the last unique design we get.
I think we get another iMac bump in the summer, but it's just back to the.
I think we get Sage and Ruby back, right?
And Snow White.
Yeah. So I think you might be right. I mean, that's a little bit of reading the tea leaves, but
well, I mean, I think in less than a year we get the G4, right?
Yeah.
And they almost certainly would have been working on that by now.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, we just saw the announcement last month of the titanium PowerBook G4 gets released this month, and we know like everything is moving over to this new G4. And like what happens in 2001, 2002 is like the iMac gets the new polycarbonate treatment that the G4 will get.
Right.
And that is a shift the G4 iMac will get. But that we're seeing a shift in Apple's industrial design language away from, big, bold, kind of get your attention. Wow, this is a computer kind of statements, and more into this sort of refinement of an industrial design language that will essentially merge their pro and consumer lines over time.
Right. Maybe Steve's up on that stage looking at this flower power iMac and he's thinking, this is pretty cool how it's got flowers in it. But what if the entire iMac was a flower? Sunflower.
Hell yeah. Maybe this was the testing ground. How does everybody feel about flowers? Flower power.
It's the real 18-month long flower technology.
Yeah, it was a sick Easter egg.
Only for true fans.
Nobody
like
got it.
20 years later, we've cracked the code.
Yeah.
Steve's code.
Yeah, I think Steve didn't have a lot to say. We also don't have a lot to say. Like they printed some pretty mediocre looking designs on the inside of an iMac shell, apparently just to see if they could, and released them as products that didn't sell all that well. But I think looking at that Macworld, the 5 weirdest Macs of all time, I was just going to talk about how this last year has been kind of like, for all of Apple's success since the iMac, they've had a couple of pretty big misses with these printed iMacs and the G4 Cube.
Yeah, it's been kind of I think we talked about this last month, but it's been kind of disappointing is too strongly put. But I think at the time this would have been worrying.
Yeah.
Because you just had this like resurgence, right? And then you get this, sort of a string of flops and issues. And obviously we've got the iPod on the horizon, but you wouldn't have known that at the time.
Right.
Even when it did come out, you wouldn't have known what a success it was going to become. Right.
Right. And I think we even see sort of all of the focus is on Apple's hardware right now. Like Apple, like for all of the software that Apple's releasing, like doing the research for this month, nobody's talking about iTunes. No, like I think that's sort of like a low key sleeper hit thing. I don't think iTunes is really going to be a thing where people are going to start taking Apple's software more seriously until the iPod is out.
Well, I think at that point your main competitor is not necessarily the other media players. It's non-consumption.
Right.
Like you have to do the education to say because the premise of iTunes is that, ripping discs is so hot right now, but yeah, it's still a fairly new idea, I think, in the general populace. The target market for the iMac. I guess also the other Macs, but anyway, just to say it's funny to think, but like the idea of iTunes is a new idea at that point. Even though there are existing media players, like it's still plenty of people who aren't using anything. So this could be the first thing they use. And that's probably part of why, it's just not on anyone's radar yet.
Right.
Especially because there's not a huge impetus to use it like we're going to get pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's going to do it for February 2001.
Short month, short app.
That's right. If you would like to send us some follow-up, you could do that through Twitter using the handle @MemProShow. Or if you have some longer follow-up, you could always send us an electronic message using the address memoryprotectionshow@gmail.com. If you want to be the 47,000th visitor to our website, you can visit memoryprotection.show. And as always, recommendations are after the song.
All right.
All right. It's time for the video game segment. I mean, recommendations.
So Josh and I will recommend something, a piece of media that came out, was released in the month and year that we're discussing for the episode. And we're almost always talking about video games, and I am almost always talking about Sega Dreamcast games.
But not this month. I mean,
Not
we're still
this
talking about
month.
video games, but not a Dreamcast game.
No. This month, I'm bringing Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64 to the table.
A classic game that I would often look at the home vision video.
HVV. Have you ever played a Paper Mario, Josh? I think we discussed this last month, didn't we?
No, I've played Mario's RPG, but not this one.
The Super Nintendo one? Or the other ones?
The other
DS
ones. The DS ones. But tell our listeners about this game.
So your
Mario.
and everything is made out of paper for some reason. I can't remember why. It
I
doesn't.
bet Bowser's in this one.
Yeah, he's the bad guy.
Oh.
And
Does he steal Princess Peach?
you know, I'm pretty sure he does. I don't have an exact memory, but 10 out of 10 games, he's stealing a princess.
Listen, Nintendo games are not about the story.
No, and this one is not about the story either, even though it's a role-playing game, and role-playing games are usually there because of their story. But I think what this game excels at, like most games excel at, is the gameplay mechanics. And this game sort of, well, it launched the Paper Mario series, but also piggybacked off of the Super Nintendo Super Mario RPG in that the battle mechanic system is sort of turn-based, like any other, turn-based RPG, but they had this
Just like a timing mechanic, right?
The timing mechanic where if you're going to jump on an enemy and you push the A button at just the right time, you'll do double the damage, or you might have to continually press the button to avoid an attack in some way. So it sort of opened up the battle system to be a little bit more active instead of plugging in a move and being passive and waiting for things to happen.
Right. I have always loved these this mechanic. I've played other iterations of it. But for me, turn-based RPGs are incredibly tedious because at a certain point you get to feel like, and some games actually do have this where you could press like an automate button.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, go through this for me, make the right decisions. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But this adds an element of like tension and reward where you're like, if you time things well, you do a little more damage or you get a little more defense,
Right.
You can avoid damage. Maybe that's not exactly how it works in this game, but that's the other systems I've used like that. And they are my favorite kind of turn-based battle system.
Yeah. And I think like this was probably the first RPG I played and finished. Not played, but certainly went through and finished. And it's like, it's an easy game. Like, it's not hard. But I think what sort of propelled me to the end was the gameplay mechanic more than anything else, because it was just really fun to play. And it was just, every battle was kind of like a fun and unique mini game.
Yeah, I think there's a reason that this is a classic franchise within a franchise. Speaking of action RPGs.
Yeah, what you got?
This is a true action RPG. I'm bringing the Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and Oracle of Ages. It's two recommendations. I'm making up for last month. 2 recommendations for the present one.
I'm bringing Pokemon Red and Blue.
Now, okay, it's interesting you make that comparison because from the outside, there's a red game and a blue game. You might think that these are the same game repackaged with slight differences. But no, Nintendo actually went through the effort of making 2 completely separate games and releasing them at the same time.
I think originally it was supposed to be 3 separate games. Right?
I'll get to that.
I'm sorry.
God.
Cut it out. Cut my part out.
Whose recommendation is this?
I'm sorry.
As I was saying, these are 2 separate games with a little bit of interconnectivity.
Lock-on technology, like Sonic and Knuckles.
Exactly. You can stack the cartridges. So each game is its own separate game with its own core mechanic. In Oracle of Ages, you use the very familiar mechanic of traveling between the present and the past to solve kind of locational puzzles. And in Seasons, you actually change the time of year. So going from winter to spring to summer to autumn to solve puzzles. Each game has like separate item pools and like different ways to solve puzzles. And one sort of focuses on action while the other focuses more on puzzles. And you can kind of decide which one you want to start with. It doesn't matter which order you do them in, but when you finish one, you get a password at the end. And you input that when you start the next one. And if you have done that and you complete the subsequent game, you now get to fight the real final boss and get the real ending.
Is it Ganon?
Yeah, Ganon is in this one. Shocker, right?
Yep.
And
does he kidnap the princess?
Yeah, he does actually. Funny you should guess. Again, folks, it's not about the story. It's about the gameplay. These games were not made by Nintendo proper. They were actually made by a company called Flagship, which is a screenwriting subsidiary of Capcom. Now, Capcom would go on to make many classic Zelda handheld games. They were hired on to make 6 Zelda games, but the first project was supposed to be a direct port of the original Zelda game to Game Boy. And it was too hard to do.
Too hard to port the OG game?
Yeah, because it's like a different screen size. And also that game was really hard and they were sort of targeting it towards kids.
Yeah.
And also they're a screenwriting company. So they mostly just wanted to make stories. Really, really interesting, complex stories where a guy called Ganon steals a princess.
Right. And a little elf kid named Link has to save the world. So
in the tradition of game development groups who have bit off more than they chew, they just wanted to make a new game. And they made a total mess of it. So they brought in Shigeru Miyamoto to clean it up. And he was like, how about instead of 6 games and making new games only, we make 3 games and one of them is a remake. And they're all connected and we release them at the same time. Because these games are linked, some of the story elements sort of interleave and some characters reoccur. And this was like way too hard to manage, especially because they did actually have to like technically get it all to work. So they cut it down to 2 games. But I have always been curious about what that third game would have been. I think it was supposed to be like day-night puzzles.
Oh, okay.
And
that
like
makes sense.
color, like prism stuff.
Oh, so crystals.
I might be getting confused because I've also written a game design document about what I thought it would be. So some of this stuff might be me.
Legend of Josh, Oracle of Colors. Do you know these? I mean, these games visually owe a lot to Link's Awakening. Is it the same engine?
They reused a lot of assets and, sort of in the style of Majora's Mask, both as a cost cutting measure and just because it was, prudent. I think they did reuse a lot of that stuff.
For my money, the Link's Awakening Zelda is my favorite 2D Zelda.
These are my favorite Zelda games.
Yeah.
Just and
period,
Link's Awakening is way up there as well. Yeah. I mean, Breath of the Wild is special and will always be special to me. But
maybe it'd be more special if you beat it, Joe.
Who's the boss? Who's the final boss in that one?
It's I don't want to spoil it.
Okay. Oh, it must be something really interesting then.
Yeah, super good. It's really
does it really throw you for a loop? Interesting. Okay. Is it Bowser? That would be surprising.
Yeah, and instead of you find out that instead of having imprisoned Zelda, he's actually imprisoned Princess Peach.
They should do one where they swap, right?
And then Link finally speaks for the first time and he says, "So long, Bowser." No, it's Ganon.
Oh, dang. Old dang Ganon.